Man, speaking of the weird woke not woke debate, do y'all remember when people were rallying behind Stellar Blade because it had a camel toe?
Yes,
that was literally irrespective of whether the game was good or not. It has a sexy lady and she has a camel toe, and therefore the game's a 10 out of 10. It's for the masculine men on the right wing, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a video game with an attractive woman. I've played those games before. I've played several of them. I play MMOs. They're filled with them. Played by guys, but they're filled with them.
Hold on. They're played by guys, or if it's Final Fantasy XIV, it's basically a trans woman dating app.
Yes. I mean, so the old adage for MMOs was MMORPG stands for many men online role-playing girls.
Role-playing girls, yeah. Yep, selling GF. I fell for that scam.
Oh my god, RuneScape
back in the day. Yep, I fell for
selling
that.
GF 100K.
Yep. I only had to pay 10K. Thank you very much.
I saw the ones that were operating near Falador, and Fally had the mines, so people were getting all their coal money.
Yep.
It was a place to spend coal money in the online brothel. Okay.
Yeah.
And like,
meet me in Barbarian Village, 10 p.m.
It's funny too, because it's like, go to any like Games Done Quick, go to heck, go to E3. Like the idea that like the core audience of gaming is still like this very small cohort of like conservative men, or ever was for that matter.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
No.
Like,
The concept died, but the thing is, if you can successfully, as a content creator, carve out a niche, it is very easy to convince people in the niche that you're not actually a niche. You're representative of everybody, and don't worry, don't look into my past of stealing breast milk from the Blizzard fridge.
Which, I mean, you know, who among us? But like,
okay. That entire company needs to be like turned upside down, just like every politician and every single person who's mentioned in the Epstein files, especially Bobby Kotick, because he's actually mentioned in them.
Okay, but only if at the same time we can get Chris Cox to give up ownership of Wizards of the Coast.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I will never not be able to do like Transformers at anime conventions or My Little Pony at Pony Convention as a panel and not mention that Chris Cox door says C Cox. And he just doesn't get the joke, apparently.
It's a very ICUP of corporate humor.
Yeah.
Jesus. But no, I feel like in general the idea of what like makes a game good or not has kind of, it's become this amorphous blob. And technically, I want to argue that maybe it was always an amorphous blob, but we had journalists who were willing to ascribe numbers to that, so it felt like things were a little more objective, but they probably weren't. Realistically, that was probably post hoc.
So
go ahead, Fiora. Go.
Let me give you an example of two separate games that have extremely similar mechanics and extremely similar problems, and the difference in how people perceive them.
Okay.
So, Mass Effect 1? Good game or not?
I'd say good game.
Good game. Yeah, I liked it.
Controls kind of janky.
Sure.
Kind of clunky.
Controls kind of janky, but it's an RPG. RPGs can have janky controls because they're not focused there.
They shouldn't have had a vehicle level, but sure. Classic.
Story has a hole or two, you know, but you get over it, right? What if Greedfall had released the same year as Mass Effect?
I don't think I've ever actually played Greedfall, so I don't have an opinion.
So Greedfall has all of the problems Mass Effect 1 and 2 has, including problems with the story. And right now on Steam, it sits at 76%. And Greedfall is basically Mass Effect, but the colonial 1600s.
Okay.
Except with actual cryptids and Native American legends and stuff trying to kill you.
I think that's the whole problem with Greedfall, though, was that it just came too late, and that happens. Like, because I mean, Greedfall, they didn't just put it into production after Mass Effect 1 came out. It was probably in production long before that. But that's the problem sometimes, is you just catch that where it's like Mass Effect was so big. It was such a moment. God, I remember watching video essays on Shepard still being alive at the end of 3. Like, and then
Although looking back at it, I just decided to do a quick Google just for shits and giggles. So you mentioned Greedfall sitting at what on Steam right now?
76% total.
76%. Okay, cool. So IGN's review for Mass Effect was that it was a solid 8 out of 10. That's not that many degree points away, actually.
Okay. but now I'm going to hit you with a different thing.
Okay. Is it a frying pan?
So Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl. Do you guys know that game?
I've never played it, but
I've never played it either.
Okay.
I know the rough concept, though. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like a blueprint for some of the concepts in Fallout 3 and onward, as far as the radiation and how the environment and the mutants and stuff like that. It's also janky as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Like even at the time, it was janky, and getting it to run on a modern system is a pain.
Yeah.
So Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl currently sits overwhelming positive 95%.
People love that game. Yeah.
Stalker 2, which came out in 2024, has about the same level of jank problems, much better graphics, better story in my opinion. Sits at 76%.
I think, again, I've never played it, so my opinion might be completely misplaced here, but I again think it's a timing thing. I mean, I'm basing this off of like what I read on V, but like I think a lot of the problem with it was just like, again, people wanted the first Stalker again, and I think from my understanding, Stalker 2 was trying to update itself, and in doing so, a lot of fans felt like it lost the core of what the original Stalker was, which I think is always a problem when you wait that long in between games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even a problem like Dark Souls 2 ran into, and it didn't even wait nearly that long.
Duke Nukem Forever problem.
Yes.
You've had Duke Nukem 3D for 15 years, and Forever comes out, and suddenly, well, this game's not that much different, but that's also kind of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't have the Serious Sam cover. There was one thing I wanted to say, though, where I think back in the day, one of the big things about gaming, too, especially when you're a kid, like now that we all have incomes and like we can buy multiple games and like $60 isn't the biggest thing to drop anymore. When you're a little kid, it's like you really only have a couple of games you're going to be buying every year. And those curated, like, it's so funny because when you were talking about the magazines, I immediately went to X-Play, which was like my big thing in the like early mid 2000s. I think it was. I forget exactly when that aired, but like X-Play was the big thing, which kind of turned into gaming YouTube in a weird way. But it was the same thing. Where they
really
still
hated Japanese games on X-Play.
They
really did not like them.
They gave Radiata Stories, my goat, a 3 out of 5, and I will never forgive them for that. But like, I think that's part of the thing that it's like we view games in a different context now, because the idea of like if I buy a game and I don't like it, I can also just return it.
Yeah, you just refund it now.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly, which was not really a thing you could do back in the day. And on top of that, I can find a game for $5. I'll find a weird video essay on some like weird little, basically an art project walking simulator, and I'm like, yeah, it's $2 on Steam. I'll play that, and then I kill 2 hours of my day, and that's it. Like, yeah.
So you bring up magazines again, and one of the things from older games that we don't have anymore, because it's completely unnecessary, you can just get walkthroughs online. But one of the ways you generally knew a game was good, did Nintendo Power or Primo release a strategy guide for it?
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I remember bringing those strategy guides to school whenever we had, like, this is your 30 minutes of reading time. So I'd pull out the Sonic Adventure 2 strategy guide, and it'd be a roll of the dice over whether the teacher considered it reading that day.
I completely memorized Legend of Legaia, Chrono Trigger, and there was this I forget the name of the game, but if I played it again, I could go through the entire thing. The Guardian, where it's like you're a guardian knight and you have this little baby monster. I memorized those strategy guides all the way through, to the point that like I could sit down now and play the game, and as soon as I start getting familiar with where I am in the game, I'd be like, oh, there's a secret chest over there.
Yep, that is a thing that just to be fair though, some of that also is because we actually have done studies on this. One of them was done on Pokemon, that people who grow up with a video game that has a lot of stuff to remember, secret chests, characters, or Pokemon. If that happens when they're young, their brain quite literally carves out a space for it and then keeps it there forever. And it's because when we're young, our brains have a lot better neuroplasticity. They are much, much easier to mold when they are in their formation. So when you get information that is repeated to you earlier in life, it is easier to retain it because your brain is built to be sponging in knowledge. That it's one of the reasons why people become more inflexible as they get older. Their ideology becomes harder and harder to shift the older they get. It's literally the brain doesn't want to intake info. So when you play a game that has a bunch of like hidden secrets like that when you're a kid, and you can memorize those as a kid, you go into your adult phase, you're like, nope, no, I know all of this. I know that thing is hidden 5 degrees west of where I'm standing.
Oh no, this is like a recent real life thing for me. Used to, I would sit down at a tabletop game for like D&D, or I really prefer Pathfinder or another system. But the point is, I would sit down and play, and I would remember everything that happened in the game without taking notes. And now, particularly for like my Sunday D&D game, I take super detailed notes because I want to remember everything, and I will forget stuff if I don't write it down now. And I'm like, why? I used to be able to go to like college classes and just no books, no notes, go through the entire class. I get an A. Now I'm up here and I'm like, I have to like stenographer entire conversations between people to make sure I remember important plot points.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to get worse the older you get.
And I think that gets to the heart of it too, is it's like, I just play games so much differently now than I did as a kid. And I'm really curious, like when I have kids, how they're going to interact with games, because they're going to be in whatever the modern gaming will be at that point in time. But it's like
all DLC. Everything will be DLC. All things you see will be horse armor. Nothing is not horse armor.
They only have the ultimate edition of games. There is no more $60 version. It's only the ultimate version.
I've already talked about this with my wife, and when we adopt kids, we're going to make them play older games first. So every year we're just going to upgrade the console to the next generation and tell them, okay, you got a year. And if you don't get it right in a year, guess what?
You know, I don't think that I think having a system, because this is the thing that we do with movies, right? So like when you go to a class, when you go and like study film, a lot of times there are classic movies that are going to be suggested, like, hey, watch this and then give me your thoughts on the decisions the director made there. Watch a horror movie from Alfred Hitchcock. Now watch, say, the Dawn of the Dead remake. They're both objectively horror films. Tell me what the differences are between these. How do these adhere to genre? How do they not adhere to genre? That kind of stuff. I kind of feel like when I get to the point where I have kids, that's what I want to do with my kids. I want to go, okay, cool. Here's a Super Nintendo. Here's a couple of the games that like I would normally say are must plays. And you do get the next game. You get the next gaming generation, but you've got to beat these 3 games.
See, it's so funny.
These 3.
I'm a completely different opinion from the two of you, because I thought you were going to agree with me, Cyrus, actually, when you started talking, because I have the similar thing where like, one of my favorite films is Citizen Kane, which, like, if you're a film student, Citizen Kane is a great film. But if you're also a film student, you've probably had the experience of showing someone Citizen Kane, and they just
and them going, I don't care. How did they know he said Rosebud?
Well, it's not even that. It's just more like if you show it to them, they're just like, well, that's fine. That just felt like a modern movie. And it's hard to explain, like, yeah.
It's hard to explain that's how modern movies came to be.
And I'm currently rewatching a lot of anime with my wife, because she's really into anime, but she mostly watched Slice of Life when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm trying to introduce her to like kind of the more seinen-y, action-y stuff that I grew up watching, and she's showing me Slice of Life. So we're watching like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and she was really bored for the first half because she felt like she could predict the plot. And so there's a part of me that's like, I feel like if I'm going to have kids and they're going to be dropped into whatever that modern gaming environment is, there might be some old games I still recommend where it's like, hey, look, Final Fantasy VII still very much changed the way I think about like the third act of a game or something. Yeah. But I do still think that like they're going to have the experience, whether or not you let them play those games just from their friends or media or whatever else they see. They're going to have the experience of whatever that gaming thing is. And in the same way, if someone like had seen some anime, I wouldn't recommend Dragon Ball to them, because Dragon Ball is just, if you've seen anime, Dragon Ball is very stereotypical, basic anime. Like, you need that appreciation of, like, yeah, the reason they're talking for 20 minutes in between
is because of punches. Dragon Ball.
Exactly. Like, that's the same thing I think I'm going to do with my kids, where it's like, look, you're just going to play the modern games, and if you're ever like, I like this specific mechanic, then I might be like, oh, hey, check this out. That's where this specific mechanic came from, and it might be interesting for you to see the origins of it. But I think you're always going to run into that problem of, with like a modern lens and a modern vocabulary, it's going to be really, really hard to give them the experience that you had, because when you watched it, or played it rather, it was a brand new thing that had never been done before.
To be fair, though, if you're a young child, if you're, let's say, 6 or 7, God damn it, I hate my life. So let's say you're a kid who's...
I didn't even think of that till you mentioned it. So
I go play Magic the Gathering, and there's people there from all ages. So you get the people who are in the generation to be making that joke unironically, and then you get the people who are 50 years old who make the joke at the kids. They're both playing Commander, but I would give a tiny bit of pushback on that, only because if you are a kid and you are not yet in the greater environment, so like you're not yet in school, you're not yet making those formative experiences. There you go. That's the word. When you're not yet going through that, as far as you know, the world that's being presented to you by your parents is reality. Like that. Sure. That is what the reality is. So if you are able to curate an experience a little earlier, going like, hey, these are foundational 2 things, you'll have a better appreciation for modern games when you have played these, because you can go, oh, I know what this feels like Chrono Trigger, I know what this feels like Mario 64. For us, it happened slowly, because we grew up with it. A gaming generation happened every 6 years.
Yeah.
At that age, having a gaming generation happen every, say, year, it's not the weirdest thing at that point, because they don't have the other experiences. And
for me, part of it is also getting them used to having the more in-depth experiences. You mentioned Chrono Trigger, or say like I'm playing through Final Fantasy VI right now, which apparently is an epic, and I was not prepared for that. The point is having them have to read the story to understand what to do, and also not having the game immediately present what to do, but instead you find out through contextual clues. Having them do that type of critical thinking early on, and then you move them to more modern games that, and I hate to say this, yellow painted walls.
I will say that the yellow paint has started to calm the fuck down.
Also, I have a personal
I'm unfamiliar with this. Wait, what is the yellow painted walls?
Have you played the Final Fantasy VII remake?
No, I have not played the remake.
Have you played any of the Resident Evil remakes?
So hold on.
I played the first. Yeah.
But I can describe this with an older game. Have you played Tomb Raider?
Yeah, which one? But yes, probably.
PS1 one.
So,
sure. Yeah. Sure.
So just looking at a cliff ledge in a Tomb Raider game, you know which ledges you can grab onto and which ones are blocked.
Gotcha.
They switched from doing it with environmental telling to just painting it yellow. The things you can grab onto are yellow.
I know what you mean now.
To be fair, I will say that an issue that I have had with the yellow paint has been if I take the yellow paint away from some especially some realistic modern games, there's almost no way to tell what is a grabbable ledge anymore, because there is enough rich detail in the environment that my brain is quite literally just overloaded with there are things. An example I had this, if either of you have played Expedition 33, in Expedition 33, there's a grapple hook mechanic. It's introduced to you really early on in the game. I'm not going to lie, I had no idea when I got out into the open world, not really open world, the game's more linear, again, Kingdom Hearts, but when you get out into the more open areas, there are times where I just could not tell that I could grapple onto a ledge without there being a little circular tell that was there. And I think again, just like as we've gotten these more visually rich games with more information being fed to the player at all times, some type of yellow paint mechanic kind of becomes a little more necessary. And at that point, it comes down to how natural do you make it look? Do you make it Final Fantasy VII Remake? Because that's not natural at all. That's like player insultingly unnatural.
There are better ways to do it. First off, you could put like indications of used climbing gear, like broken gloves or broken pittons at the base of something that can be climbed, and then the player character throws a grapple to the top, creates their God, what is it called? I've been rock wall climbing and real life climbing. What is it called? Their belay. Mm-hmm. Their belay on the spot, and now that belay's there and tells them we can climb this wall. That would work better than yellow paint. It would be much more natural and much more, and you could even make the climbing gear, because most often climbing gear is brightly freaking colored. You could make it brightly colored. Side note, and for comedy's sake, at what point in Full Metal Alchemist has your, and you can tell me you don't want to answer, has your significant other realized they can't predict the plot?
Around when they got to Briggs in the north, basically when it started hardcore diverging from the original, which she also didn't see, but still,
like right after Greed.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious at what point that they went, wait a minute, what?
Well, she just got more invested because prior to that, it was like spoiler alert for anyone listening who hasn't seen an anime that came out. Jesus, 17 years ago.
2009.
More than 5 years old, we don't have to give spoilers.
Anyway, like, you know, when Hughes died, I like turned to her and she was just like, "Oh yeah, no, I saw that coming." And I was just like,
to be fair with Hughes though, I want to say that Hughes' death is telegraphed a lot less obviously in the original Full Metal Alchemist, because we're literally given more time with Hughes.
Yeah,
we're given triple the episodes with Hughes before he gets, the man. I wanted to make a Fucky Wucky Sucky 9000 joke about him getting impaled by Lust, but then I realized it didn't work because it was the other way around. She's the one inserting into him, but it's. I think in the original it hits a little harder. I don't think the original's a better anime. I think Brotherhood's a way better anime. But
I think it's better in the beginning, but I agree with you. Brotherhood overall is far.
Brotherhood is a way better anime, and also just like one of the reasons Brotherhood is so much better is that last arc where everybody's story gets their payoff, and the people who participated in the genocide get to do some form of redemption and some form of setting things right. Also, Mustang just going absolutely apeshit.
Yeah, apeshit Mustang is great.
We're just about there, so I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah, but, Mustang v Envy and Mustang v Lust are both fun.
Yeah, we just finished the Envy fight. We just finished that one. Yeah,
and a recent you should show her the meme joke where it's, hey everybody, it's Markiplier.
I don't know that one.
What honestly. Are you talking about?
So there's a meme from that where Envy is shifting between the different faces, and Ed goes, don't F with me, and keeps punching them over and over, and one of the memes just retextures the face to be Markiplier doing his intro before he gets punched again. It's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah, no, I don't know that meme.
No, I don't either.
Now I feel old. Thanks.
It could also just be like, remember, as the internet has expanded, there are niches that are just hidden on the internet. I was doing a review of like a 16-year-old's video essay type thing he was trying to do. It was very, like, you could tell that he had grown up watching YouTubers, and he was trying his hand at doing the "I'm guy holding a microphone talking about thing" video essay. And
hey, now, calm down. All
right. But I need you to subtract like 25 years from yourself. And, well, closer to 20 years. But and as I was peering through his channel after doing the first review just on stream, and I noticed that there was this cartoon show he was talking about, and it's a YouTube cartoon show called Something Critical. I don't remember what the name of it was, and I didn't recognize it at all. It didn't mean anything to me, and it reminded me that there's so many different like subcategories of niches now on the internet that people will grow up in, and to them that's their norm. Whereas, like, I think when the internet was more new, when a meme floated around, everybody got a meme very, very quickly. You got Numa Numa, you got over 9,000, you got those, like, they proliferated super fast. Now things are very cut into their niches far more than they used to be. An example of this, I don't know if either of you know what an object show is.
No.
I do.
You said you do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, weird fandoms are weird fandoms. It makes sense.
I haven't actually watched any. It's my other significant other who watches them and then comes and talks about them for like 2 hours.
Special
what
interests. So an object show is any show at all, but it's VeggieTales. Functionally, just the characters are objects. They can be fruits. They can be staplers. It doesn't matter.
Styrofoam cup, the bench they're sitting on.
And so I didn't know that was a thing until I was putting in applications for a bunch of different voice acting jobs, and one of them was for an object show. And I had no idea what the hell an object show was, but I was like, no, I'm just going to submit the application again. And then I got in on that one and voiced for it. I had to do research on what the hell an object show was so that I could come in knowing, okay, I'm voicing, what was I doing? I think it was voicing a megaphone, but I wasn't supposed to sound like a megaphone because the objects are almost always arbitrary. There's almost never any like narrative purpose to them. They're just, the stapler is the one talking now.
Sure, yeah.
And
That's
then,
interesting.
To give an example of what you're talking about where people just think it's the norm. So we have modern animation on YouTube, like VisiPop, Glitch Entertainment, Circus, those things. But then if I talk to somebody and I'm like, yeah, but there's older animation on YouTube, and before that there's animation on Newgrounds, and they're like, what's Newgrounds? And you have to explain to them that animation was not originally a thing on YouTube. It used to be a very niche type of deal, and most older animation isn't even accessible anymore because it's in Flash.
Well, and one of the reasons, a thing that is hard to explain to somebody who's just grown up with the current internet, is the reason that Newgrounds was the hub for animation and not YouTube was the quality compression on YouTube ruined a bunch of different videos at that time. So there's a ton, like if you look at old Kerbifer, you look at old Kerbifer videos, every now and again you'll hear a joke about somebody stealing one of his cartoons and moving it over to YouTube, and just goes like, yeah, and if you're watching this on if you're wondering why the quality of this video is bad, it's because you're watching this on YouTube right now. And he would include it in the Newgrounds video because everybody on Newgrounds knew that Newgrounds had way better quality because they didn't compress things. But of course, Newgrounds didn't scale the same way YouTube did. So now YouTube has better compression algorithms that don't fuck the video as hard.
Well, but they're also designed around, I think, for the most part, like camera compression stuff. Like for the most part, the color spaces that they are best at compressing are still, I'm pointing a camera at the real world kind of color space. I know several animators who work on some bigger stuff on YouTube, and they talk about actually having to change the way they animate to account for YouTube's compression, because it's still going to be your biggest audience.
It's not just that. So OBS, the early versions of OBS, like we're talking version 10, version 8, they were not made for YouTube. They became made for YouTube later. So even the version of OBS we're using right now is vastly different in how it does compression and how it records what we're doing. Because originally it was made for more like a home movie camera type deal, but for use with your computer.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me as well is thinking on those tools. If you explained to somebody in the 90s what the indie game space is now, they would tilt their head at you and go, what are you talking about? What the hell are you saying? Random people in their basement made game and it sold millions. What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Describe Toby Fox to those people.
Describe Toby Fox, his rise, describing how he got his experience would also fuck with them. Yeah, he played a lot of Earthbound. Okay, and then he modded Earthbound. What the fuck is modding Earthbound?
Describing to someone the state in the 90s, the state No Man's Sky came out in versus the state it is in now.
The fact that it's considered a critically beloved thing now, but when it came out, it was a joke. Like it was the internet's joke.
Yeah. It described to them that when it came out, 90% of the features that were promised were missing, and the game was glitchy and awful and everything. And now, like 8.5 years later, God, I'm old. It's literally the pinnacle of what we would expect a AAA game to be.
It's really weird because, like, so for anybody who's into emulation, a thing that you learn really quickly with emulation is just how many versions of a physical release games had. As an example, Ocarina of Time, that's playing in the background here. Everybody knows version 1.0 of Ocarina of Time had the Muslim chant in the Fire Temple. That's like old fogey, old news. And subsequent versions didn't. I remember there being some controversy, very, very light controversy, when the Mario All-Stars collection came out on the Switch. And the words "So long, gay Bowser" were not there when Mario threw Bowser away. And people were like, they censored it. They took it out. It's so weird. And I was like, no, that's just the second version of Mario 64. America got 1. Japan got 2. The second one patched out the long jump, or the backwards long jump. And it also inadvertently took out that soundbite. And we don't really know why, because Nintendo's a Japanese company and they don't do interviews the same way that American companies do. So it's just like, that's not censorship. If you know anything about emulation, back when video games couldn't get patched, we got new versions of games, and sometimes you got Street Fighter, and that was a very predatory market. I'm not gonna lie.
or you would get like games that were specialized for the culture they were being put into, and that's what that particular region got. So
Doki Doki Panic, Mario 2.
Yep.
One of the things I remember was oh god, that actually popped up here. Neat. One of the things I remember is Vector Man on the Sega Sega Channel.
Sega CD?
No, Sega Channel, which is this giant cartridge. So, radical idea in the 90s, you could plug a cartridge into your Sega Genesis and hook it up to the internet and download games that would sit on that cartridge for a month, and then at the end of the month you get 50 new games.
Yeah, Nintendo did the same thing with the Super Nintendo in Japan. Yeah, they had a downloadable Zelda game that's now lost to time.
But there were games on the Sega Channel that didn't exist anywhere else. You had Chess Master, which was normally only available on the Macintosh.
Yeah.
You had there was a game called Gemfire, which is a turn-based tactical strategy game with an overworld strategy layer to it, and then an in-world battle layer. That only existed on PC in Japan and Europe and on Sega Channel. And when you're trying to emulate this, the versions are different. The graphics are different.
Yep.
In some cases, the entire dialogue is changed.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really need you to leave, though, and actually go check out the guests on this video. That would be really cool. But the lights are off, so, fuck off.